I paid my parents' bills for 5 years while my sister did nothing. When I asked them to babysit my daughter for one night, they laughed. "We're not your servants." So I cut them off. Days later, they were crying outside my house. Before we begin the story, take a moment to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support means the world to our channel and helps us spread more shocking true stories to light. Now, let's get started. My name is Jake, and I never imagined I'd be the kind of person to cut ties with my own family. But after everything they put me through, I don't regret it. Not for a second. For 5 years, I carried them, covered their rent, paid their bills, bought their groceries. Anything they needed, I provided. And they always had an excuse. My dad, his back problems made working impossible. My mom, she insisted she was too old to get a job, even though she was barely in her 50s. And then there was my sister, Ashley. She didn't lift a damn finger. Ashley was the golden child. She could crash her car, rack up thousands in debt, drop out of school, and my parents would still act like she walked on water. "She's just finding herself," my mom would say. "She'll figure it out eventually." Meanwhile, I was the one who had to figure everything out. From the moment I turned 18, I worked my ass off. Late nights, long hours, stress, sacrifice, you name it. I built something for myself. And for that, my parents saw me as their personal ATM. It started small. A little help with rent here, a bill there. Then it became a monthly expectation. After a while, they didn't even ask anymore. They just assumed I'd handle it. Family helps family, my mom would say whenever I hesitated. "You're doing so well, sweetheart. It's not like you can't afford it." And for years, I let it slide. I told myself they needed me, that I was doing the right thing, that maybe, just maybe, they'd appreciate it someday. But appreciation never came. Only entitlement. And one day, I finally saw the truth. The slow betrayal. The breaking point didn't happen all at once. It wasn't a single, explosive argument. No, it was a slow, painful realization, one that crept up on me, betrayal by betrayal, until it finally crushed me. It started when I got married. My wife, Sophie, never outright said anything at first, but I could see it in her eyes. She didn't like the way my parents treated me. She saw what I refused to see, but they didn't love me for who I was. They loved what I could do for them. Even after our daughter was born, nothing changed. I thought maybe, just maybe, having a granddaughter would make a difference, that they won't be involved. But I was wrong. Ashley still came first. My mom would cancel visits last minute because Ashley needed her for something. My dad never bothered to come at all. If I didn't make the effort, they wouldn't have seen my daughter at all. And then came the moment that shattered everything. I had an important work event, something I couldn't miss. At the last minute, Sophie had a business trip. We just needed one night of help. So I called my mom. "Hey, Mom, could you and Dad watch the baby for a few hours?" She laughed. Not just a small chuckle. She actually laughed. "Oh, Jake, we're not your servants," she said, like I was insane for even asking. "We already raised our kids. It's not our job to take care of yours." I don't even remember what I said next. I just remember staring at my phone, my stomach twisting. 5 years. 5 years of paying their bills, making sure they never had to struggle, giving up so much of my own life to take care of them. And the one time I asked for something in return, they dismissed me like I was nothing. I wish I could say that was the end of it. But it got worse. A lot worse. The final straw. I sat there for a long time, phone still in my hand, replaying the conversation in my head. Maybe I misheard her. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. But deep down, I knew better. The years of being used. The endless excuses. The way they put Ashley on a pedestal while treating me like a walking wallet. It all made sense now. Still, I needed to hear it from them directly. I needed to see them say it to my face. So I grabbed my keys, got in my car, and drove straight to their house. The drive was short, but my mind was racing the entire way. I wasn't even sure what I was going to say. I wasn't the kind of person who lashed out or got into screaming matches. But I felt something bubbling up inside me, something I'd been pushing down for years. By the time I pulled into their driveway, my hands were shaking. I took a deep breath, got out of the car, and knocked on the door. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Then I heard voices inside. A moment later, the door opened, and there stood my dad, looking surprised to see me. "Jake, he said like I was some random salesman showing up unannounced. I didn't even bother with small talk. I just want to make sure I heard Mom correctly, I said, pushing past him into the house. You guys can't babysit my daughter for one night because you're not my servants? Is that right? My mom was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't even look guilty. If anything, she looked annoyed. Jake, why are you making such a big deal out of this? Before I could respond, I heard something from the other room. A little voice. A giggle. I turned my head toward the hallway. And that's when I saw it. Ashley's kids. My parents were babysitting Ashley's kids. My heart dropped. My mom, seeing the look on my face, immediately went into damage control mode. Oh, honey, this is different. Different. My voice was eerily calm. Explain to me how this is different. My dad sighed, rubbing his temples. Your sister had a really bad headache. She just needed a little rest. I stared at him, stunned. A headache? I repeated. She has a headache, so you drop everything to help her. But when I, the one who's been paying your damn bills for years, ask you for one night, suddenly it's we raised our kids already. My mom rolled her eyes like I was the one being dramatic. Jake, it's not like that. Ashley gets everything handed to her, I snapped. And I get used. My mom's face hardened. That's not fair. We appreciate everything you do for us. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. Really? Because it sure as hell doesn't feel like it. And then Ashley appeared in the hallway, rubbing her eyes like she just woke up from a damn nap. Ugh, what is all this yelling? She whined. Then she saw me and groaned. Oh my God, are you seriously throwing a tantrum right now? I turned to her, my jaw clenched. You're unbelievable. She folded her arms, smirking. You act like paying a few bills makes you a saint. Maybe if you weren't so uptight, Mom and Dad wouldn't have to pick favorites. And that was it. Something inside me snapped. A final piece of the puzzle clicked into place. I had spent my entire life trying to earn love and respect from people who never intended to give it to me. And now, standing in that living room, watching them babysit Ashley's kids after laughing in my face, I finally saw the truth. I was done. I exhaled slowly and looked at my parents. All right, I said quietly. I get it now. Then I turned and walked straight out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't yell. I didn't waste another second of my time. But as I drove away, my phone started buzzing. First my mom, then my dad, then Ashley. I didn't answer. And that was just the beginning. Let me know if this is working for you. I'll keep going with the same intensity. Rocket. Banda noi? Continue. Chat da noi? Part 4, cutting them off. I ignored every single call. Let them wonder. Let them stew. I wasn't going to waste another second being manipulated. By the time I got home, Sophie was already back from her trip, sitting on the couch with our daughter asleep in her arms. She looked up when I walked in, immediately sensing something was wrong. What happened? She asked softly. I sat down next to her, running a hand through my hair. They were babysitting Ashley's kids. Sophie stiffened. You're kidding. I shook my head. Nope. She had a headache, so of course they dropped everything to help her. But when I asked for one night, one damn night, I got laughed at. She let out a sharp breath, shaking her head in disbelief. Jake, I know this hurts, but maybe it's a good thing. Now you know for sure. She was right. I didn't know for sure. I wasn't their son. I was their backup plan, their financial safety net. And now that I saw it clearly, I wasn't about to keep playing that role. The next morning, I took action. First, I called my bank. I had automatic payments set up for their rent, their utilities, hell, even their car insurance. That ended today. I canceled everything. Then, I sent my parents a single text. You're on your own now. Figured out. No explanation. No argument. Just those words. Then I blocked their numbers. Within the hour, the chaos began. Sophie and I were eating breakfast when my email pinged. Then my work phone rang. Then Sophie's phone rang. I had blocked them, but they were persistent. I sighed and opened my email. Subject. Are you serious? The message was exactly what I expected. Jake, I don't know what got into you, but this is ridiculous. Family supports each other. You can't just cut us off like this. We have bills to pay. Your father's health isn't great, and your sister is struggling. I can't believe you'd be this selfish after everything we've done for you. I scoffed. Everything they'd done for me? What? Giving birth to me? That was about where their support ended. Before I could even process that, Sophie's phone rang again. She glanced at the screen and grimaced. "It's Ashley." "Let go to voicemail," I muttered. But then a text popped up. She held up the phone so I could see. "Wow, you're actually serious? You're screwing over mom and dad just because you didn't get your way for one night? Grow up, Jake." I clenched my jaw. Of course Ashley would twist it like that. Of course she would make me the villain. I stood up, pacing the kitchen. You know what? Let them panic. Let them scream. I don't care anymore. Sophie gave me a small, proud smile. "Good. They don't deserve another second of your energy." And for the first time in years, I felt it. Relief. But the drama wasn't over yet. Not even close. The guilt trip begins. 3 days. That's how long the silence lasted. Then, one evening, there was a knock on my front door. At first, I thought it was a delivery. But when I glanced through the peephole, I nearly laughed. It was my parents, and they were crying. I stood there for a moment, just watching them through the glass. My mother had tears streaming down her face, clutching a tissue like she was starring in some tragic movie. My father stood beside her, rubbing his temples like this was all such an inconvenience. And for a split second, just a split second, I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered. Every time they had used me. Every bill I had covered. Every sacrifice I had made while Ashley sat back, doing nothing, yet somehow still being treated like royalty. I remembered the laughter in my mother's voice when she dismissed me like I was an idiot for even asking them to babysit. And just like that, the guilt was gone. I took a deep breath, unlocked the door, and swung it open. The second my mother saw me, she launched into it. "Jake, thank God. We've been trying to reach you." I folded my arms, leaning against the doorframe. "Yeah, I noticed." My dad stepped forward, his expression a mix of exhaustion and frustration. "Jake, son, we need to talk." "No." I cut him off. "You need to talk." Because I already said everything I needed to. My mother clutched at her chest like I had just stabbed her. "How can you be so heartless? We're family." I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. "Oh, now, we're family? That's funny. Because when I needed you, when I needed one night, just one, you laughed in my face." Her expression flickered, but she quickly recovered. "Jake, that's not fair. Not fair." My voice rose. "What's not fair is me paying your bills for 5 years while Ashley did absolutely nothing. What's not fair is me bending over backward to help you, only to be treated like an afterthought while she gets to be the golden child. You can sit here and cry all you want, but I see the truth now." Silence. My dad sighed heavily, shaking his head. "Jake, come on. We appreciate everything you do for us." I scoffed. "No, you appreciate my money. Big difference." That shut them up real quick. My mom's face crumpled like she was about to start full-on sobbing. We didn't think you'd actually go through with it," she admitted, wiping at her eyes. "You've always been so responsible. So good to us. We thought you'd calm down and fix this." I gritted my teeth. "Fix what, Mom? The fact that you've been using me? That you've been emotionally manipulating me into paying for everything while Ashley does nothing? That you take me for granted and act like she's some damn princess?" My mother sniffled. "We're not using you, Jake. We just relied on you a little too much." I shook my head. "No, you exploited me. You guilt-tripped me into believing it was my job to take care of you. But it's not. You're grown adults. If you can't afford your own bills, that's not my problem anymore." My dad, ever the peacekeeper, rubbed his face in frustration. "Look, I get it, okay? We screwed up. Screwed up." I repeated, letting out a bitter laugh. "Screwing up is forgetting to send a birthday card. This is years of manipulation. This is me realizing that the only reason you ever treated me kindly was because I was useful to you." My mother shook her head desperately. "That's not true. We love you." I exhaled slowly. "No, you love what I do for you. There's a difference." For the first time in my life, they were speechless. But then, right on cue, my mother did what she did best. She flipped the script. Her sadness morphed into anger. And suddenly, I was the villain again. "You're being so cruel, Jake," she snapped. "Do you have any idea what you're doing to this family? We're struggling. We're barely keeping our heads above water. And instead of helping your own flesh and blood, you're throwing a tantrum over babysitting." I felt a dangerous calm settle over me. No, I said, my voice low. I'm finally standing up for myself. She scoffed. You're cutting us off over nothing. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. Nothing, I echoed. You think this is nothing? I shook my head, letting out a slow breath. Mom, I've spent the last 5 years keeping a roof over your head while Ashley did nothing. You have drained me, financially and emotionally. And the one time I asked for something in return, you laughed in my face. And now that I'm done being your ATM, now you're crying outside my house. She looked away, sniffling. My dad cleared his throat awkwardly. I nodded. That's what I thought. My mom exhaled sharply, regaining some of her usual venom. Fine, she said bitterly. If this is how you want it, then fine. But don't come crawling back when you realize how much you need us. I let out a sharp laugh. Need you? For what? Emotional abuse. Guilt trips? Bills I never signed up for? Yeah, I think I'll pass. My dad sighed, rubbing his face. Come on, Jake, let's not burn bridges here. We just need a little help. I turned and gestured toward their car in my driveway. Then maybe you should go ask Ashley. Oh wait, she's never helped, has she? Silence. They knew I was right. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. I'm done. I mean it this time. No more money. No more favors. You figure your own lives out, just like I had to. My mom opened her mouth to argue, but I was already stepping back inside. And without another word, I shut the door in their faces. I leaned against it, my heart pounding, my breath coming in short bursts. For a second, I just stood there, listening. I could hear them murmuring, their voices frantic. My mother was sniffling. My father was sighing. Then, slowly, their footsteps retreated. I peeked through the window. They were standing by their car, arguing with each other. And then, finally, they got in and drove away. And I just stood there, letting it all sink in. For the first time in my life, I had set a real boundary, and it felt incredible. But something told me, this wasn't over yet. The social media attack. The next morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating like crazy. At first, I thought it was just another work notification. But as soon as I unlocked my screen, I saw the flood of messages. Texts, missed calls, Facebook notifications. My stomach sank. I opened the first text. It was from my cousin Jenna. Holy crap, Jake. Have you seen what your mom posted? My heart pounded as I clicked the link she sent me. It took me straight to Facebook. And there it was, a post from my mother. And the moment I started reading, my hands clenched into fists. It breaks my heart to say this, but sometimes the people you love the most turn their backs on you. Oh no, my own son, the one I raised, fed, clothed, and loved unconditionally, has abandoned his family in our time of need. After everything we've done for him, he's decided we're not good enough anymore. I could feel my blood boiling. I never thought I'd see the day when my own child would treat me like a burden, like a piece of trash to be thrown away. But money changes people, I guess. And now, he's left us struggling, knowing we have no one else to turn to. If only he had a heart as big as his bank account. My breath came in sharp bursts. She had completely twisted the story, painting herself as the suffering, abandoned mother. And of course, the comments were even worse. Wow, I can't believe your son would do that to you. Some kids just don't appreciate their parents anymore. It's disgusting. After all you sacrificed for him, you should be ashamed. Karma will come for him. Just wait. I scrolled and scrolled, my face burning. She had spun this into a pity party. And, of course, her little group of nosy church ladies and distant relatives, people who barely knew me, were eating it up. But then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I saw Ashley's comment. I never wanted to say anything before, but honestly, I always knew he only cared about himself. Mom and Dad gave him everything, and this is how he repays them? Disgusting. That did it. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was livid. I grabbed my phone and dialed my mother's number. She picked up almost immediately, like she had been waiting for my call. Oh, so now you want to talk? She said, her voice dripping with fake innocence. Are you kidding me? I snapped. What the hell is that Facebook post, Mom? You're seriously lying to everyone and making me look like some heartless monster. She let out a long, dramatic sigh. I don't know what you mean, sweetie. I was just sharing my feelings. Isn't that allowed? I gritted my teeth. You lied, Mom. You made it sound like I abandoned you for no reason, when you've been using me for years. Oh, using you? She shot back, suddenly full of venom. I don't recall putting a gun to your head and forcing you to help your own parents. You did that all on your own. I almost laughed at the sheer audacity of it. Unbelievable, I muttered. I finally stand up for myself, and instead of apologizing, you run to Facebook to play the victim? Her voice trembled now, like she was trying to squeeze out some tears. Your poor father and I are struggling, Jake. Meanwhile, you're living comfortably, completely fine with leaving us behind. It's just, she sniffled dramatically. It's just so hard to believe my own son could be so cold-hearted. I clenched my jaw, gripping the phone so tightly my fingers ached. Oh, you're struggling? I said, voice dangerously calm. Then why were you babysitting Ashley's kids yesterday? Silence. For just a split second, she hesitated. Then she scoffed. Ashley is different, she said. She's not as financially stable as you. And besides, she doesn't turn her back on family the way you do. That was it. That was the final straw. I let out a slow breath, forcing myself to stay calm. You know what, Mom? Post whatever you want. Say whatever you want. But I hope you realize you just burned any chance of me ever helping you again. Her tone immediately shifted, suddenly sweet, suddenly gentle. Oh, honey, don't be like this. You know I love you. I let out a humorless chuckle. No, Mom. You love control. And you just lost it. And with that, I hung up. I stared at my phone for a long moment, my blood still boiling. Notifications were still going off. Messages from relatives, mutual friends, even a couple of old classmates asking what was going on. And then, an idea hit me. If she wanted to play dirty, I could play smarter. I took a deep breath, opened Facebook, and started typing. I didn't rant. I didn't insult. I just laid out the facts. How I had been paying their bills for years, while Ashley contributed nothing. How they had refused to help me when I needed them, just once. And how, just hours later, they had turned around and done the exact same thing for Ashley that they claimed they weren't my servants for doing. I hit post, and braced myself. The response was immediate. Messages flooded in, not just from friends, but from extended family, people I hadn't talked to in years. Some were supportive, furious on my behalf. Others were shocked, saying they had no idea what had been going on behind the scenes. A few tried to stay neutral, saying families should stick together no matter what. But overwhelmingly, the tide was turning against my parents. And then, right on cue, Ashley showed up in the comments. Wow, can't believe you'd embarrass our parents like this. So much for family. I almost rolled my eyes. That was rich, coming from someone who had done nothing but take and take, while I carried the weight of responsibility alone. I didn't respond. I didn't have to. Other people jumped in, calling her out, pointing out the blatant favoritism, the hypocrisy. And then, the messages from my parents started rolling in. Mom, how dare you do this to us? Do you have any idea how humiliated we are? Dad, take the post down. Now, this isn't how family treats each other. Oh, now family mattered? Now, they wanted to talk about respect and loyalty? After years of using me like an ATM, I didn't respond. Instead, I blocked them. Blocked my mom. Blocked my dad. Blocked Ashley. And just like that, the weight lifted. No more guilt. No more obligation. No more being manipulated into believing that love was something I had to buy. I expected to feel sad, maybe even regretful. But as I sat in the quiet of my own home, holding my daughter close, all I felt was peace. For the first time in my life, I was free. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.